Welcome to At the Table,
where we are connecting entrepreneurs, discovering missions, and building communities with purpose, body, soul, mind, and business with
Charlie
and Heather with Free Time Solutions.
Good morning and welcome to the table. It's
Monday.
And this week we're talking about some really, really awesome stuff. Well, we do every week, but we're continuing our journey with Don Miguel Ruiz's The Voice of Knowledge and Mendez Etlin's book, Career Self-Care.
So if you haven't been on before, we read two books, and my name is Heather.
And I'm Charlie.
And we absolutely love the combination of reading two books together, and the wisdom and knowledge we get from one really flows to the other, and it's always this really magical connection.
Yeah, I always feel like when we sat down at the beginning of the year to choose our books, we're like, oh, one's going to be for like personal growth and one's going to be for business growth. But you know what? They cross over so much.
Right? Especially as women, we know we don't like leave it at the door. We just do business differently. And we show up as cool people every day, everywhere.
Yep.
So
thank you for joining us on this journey of personal growth and all the cool things that come with it.
Facing the things.
Yeah.
We do have some resources for like PTSD, or if you needed some mental health things. So there's what is it? I can't remember. There's 211, which is for questions. There's a number. I can't remember. You can get mental health across the US. I totally forgot it. I will find it and drop it in the link or in the description below. So
I can't remember it right now. But
obviously this was not a planned conversation, so I must feel like this is a triggering episode.
If you want to go back and listen to the whole chapters, I read them every Sunday for the weekly reading. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast to get the latest and greatest.
And then drop below what what stands out for you. Share with us.
Yep. All right, let's get into it. Enough of that. Okay.
So
this week we're on chapter 3 of The Voice of Knowledge, and chapter 3 is The Lie of Our Imperfection, Childhood Memories Recalled. Okay, so if you've been along this journey with us, we have talked about domestication of humans, which is talked about in The Four Agreements, which is another Don Miguel Ruiz book, and that's kind of where we started with him and his journey, right? Our journey through him. But that's basically what this is talking about. We are born perfect.
Just the way we are.
We are born perfect as children. We run and play and we learn through our experiences, and we
love freely. There's always this joy when you're watching a child that hasn't been domesticated. So there's this freedom of spirit.
I know the Bible talks about that childlike joy, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what this essence is. So you start out perfect in this essence of childlike joy, and you learn through domestication of the species how to interact in the world around you, and expectations and all these things that are put on you, and they might not resonate with you, but you agree to them, because if you don't, you'll be punished in some way, right? So we learn how to deal with the world around us through this domestication process. And we agree to the lies we are taught, because if we don't agree to the lies, then we're a bad boy or a bad girl.
Right. The labels
start. It doesn't feel good to be punished.
Right.
And
then we try to avoid those behaviors. That's that domestication.
Right. And I find this after reading this that what doesn't feel good about being punished is that is your spirit fighting against those truths, right? It's not agreeing with what is true for you, right? That's where that inner turmoil starts. And so then we are taught not to trust ourselves because we're domesticated to believe we're imperfect and we're wrong, and then we're always seeking perfection so that we can, reach better status or whatever that looks like. It's really interesting.
I find it interesting too to study that whole part, right?
Mm-hmm. We've actually had a few conversations this week about this, and how we talk to our kids versus the way that our parents talked to us,
right? Oh,
because we're coming from such a healed place, right? And where that came from. So we found that back in history, back in the late 18, early 1900s, discipline was very different. There was actually a guy who wrote a book on how to basically beat your child
right
into submission.
And then that in the 60s and 70s became the core of what a good Christian values parent was, to have those perfect children that sat in the pews perfectly in line. This is how you got that,
right? Yeah.
So, and then thinking about like our own experiences as a culture of the spanking and the history of like, where did that come from? And we were talking about how it doesn't feel good to spank our kids.
No.
But in the roles of how the hierarchy of society was, the husband would tell the wife
the expectation.
She is expected to spank her child, even though it doesn't feel good to her. Because that's for the betterment of my child, and my child should be grateful that I'm spanking them.
I will be the first to admit that I have made mistakes in my past, and I'm learning from those mistakes. And one of those is how I reacted to my children when they were little,
right?
Because they were just being children,
right?
But in that moment, I didn't have the tools to deal with the stress.
Also to trust ourselves in that moment either. Because everybody is telling us what we should be doing all the time as parents.
So because I hadn't started my own personal growth journey, and I hadn't experienced that inner joy and that breaking of those lies that were put on me,
and then the stepping into doing the thing is right, and feeling the reward of that emotionally.
I used to spank my kids when they were little. I don't anymore. They're teenagers now.
They talk about like that. I think that was all the way up into adulthood, spanking children, and then wives spanking wives. That like was culturally and
husbands would spank their wives if they were out of line. Like it was a thing.
Shit rolls downhill.
Right. It's awful.
So that's why the kids would get, because the wife would be spanked, and then
it was all about masculine power and control.
Right.
We don't
takes it right back out to don't air your laundry out. Right?
Yeah.
I think that's in her book, right? That was this book. So she talks about in earlier chapters about how that saying came from when women would go to the one place to do the laundry together, and they would commune, that they would share, who wasn't a nice person, and men did not like their laundry being aired, right, for everybody to know. So they were, we were taught to not talk about it,
right? And that was part of being perfect, because you had to appear perfect to everybody else, even if your world is completely imperfect, right?
So messed up.
It was messed up. So that's what we talked about in the Voice of Knowledge this week. I highly recommend you read through this chapter, because it's one of those that it's perspective changing. Right. It looks at it from a different angle and phrases it in such a way that it's not demeaning to anybody at all. Like, he does such a good book. But opens your eyes to what is possible.
And I've spanked my child's also. My children's, but I also didn't know better, right? And I also knew that it didn't feel good and it didn't work. Right. Because I was not ever looking to break the spirit of my child. And the energy behind spanking was to break the spirit. Right. So
it was looked at like taming a horse. Right.
So crazy. Seriously, domestication. So, and we think about breaking those bonds. We're not looking to like blame ourselves or give ourselves a guilt trip because this happened. We're looking to learn. So always give yourself grace and if you
come from a place of curiosity, not judgment on yourself. Okay. If this isn't a place you are yet, that's okay.
Right. Even opening your mind to there's a different way to look at things gives you the opportunity for growth.
Yeah, exactly.
So
and don't, if you are one that currently spanks your child, don't think that this is at all in any way demeaning to you, because we love you, we care about you, and it's
we were literally coming from a place
your
of curiosity,
right?
Like, it's crazy.
It is crazy.
Like just looking at the history of like, how did that get into our culture? Like, where did that come from? And when we talked about the wives being spanked, I totally see how domestic violence turned into domestic violence. I see it now, like in a totally different way. Like, wow.
Yeah.
That is no longer okay to break your wife's spirit. Right.
Like, even ads, like advertisements in the 1950s showed husbands spanking their wives. And they kind of made fun of it or whatever. Right. It was.
But that was like the gateway to
domestic violence. As we know it.
What the heck?
Yeah. And I'm sure it was happening before then.
Right.
It domestic violence has been happening for eons, but it should.
But exactly. But to see how it became, and to have that culture of don't talk about it mixed with the culture of spanking and hitting is okay, so why not beat the crap out of your, like that as we step into our power as women, we're telling them no. This is no longer acceptable. And I appreciate that. Right. And so that is our gift right now.
Is to not accept what was anymore.
Yes.
Right.
Now the blinders are off.
Up until now.
Yeah.
Up until now.
Okay.
Which leads us right into this chapter. Chapter 16 in Career Self-Care by Minda Zetlin. Why you have to stop working so hard. We put the pressure on ourselves to be perfect over here, right? And then we work hard because that's what culturally we are taught. That's what needs to happen.
Have hard work. It needs to be hard, and it has to be that 4-letter word, right?
She shares a story about a gal who would post on social media that she had been working like 30 hours a week, lots of overtime, all this other stuff, and then she died. She was like
80 hours a week, right?
Yeah, it was like ridiculous amounts of work, and she ended up dying, and she was in her 20s, and she died of like severe heart failure because she had been working herself literally to death.
Wow.
Right.
In that high stress environment. Wow.
So ask yourself, are you trading your health for your career? Oof. I know our company culture is like, if you are having a mental health day, have a mental health day. If you have to do something to take care of yourself, just schedule it and go do it.
Right. And it's so different here
Mhm.
because there's no asking for permission.
Right.
Like the permission and expectation is you're going to make your appointments and do them.
Uh-huh.
You're going to take care of yourself.
Uh-huh.
You're going to schedule appointments to take care of you're going to take downtime
Uh-huh.
because we do a lot of stuff with people
Mhm.
and connecting.
Mhm.
And this is, it's a lot of hard work, but we also didn't want to burn out.
Right.
So when we crafted our schedule,
Uh-huh. We
built that
decided
in there.
we did.
That's a thing.
That's a thing that we do.
Because we don't want it to be that corporate feel of go 80 hours of work. That is not.
We actually structured our work week in such a way that we can either catch appointments after work, or like Friday afternoons, we leave open for self-care. Like we don't schedule appointments on Friday afternoons.
Specifically for
self-care. And some of our clients have gotten to know us enough to be like, oh, it's Friday afternoon.
These ladies aren't in the office.
They're not in the office. We are gonna have to talk to you later. See you on Monday. And one of the things you need to remember is that to getting enough sleep matters even more than you think.
Yeah, sleep is super important, and making sure that you have the time to wind down so you can sleep. We both have like nice glasses so that working with screens is better, and we're able to sleep, the things.
Yeah. So we have high blue light filtration on our glasses because we're on the computer all day, and that's part of that. But then I have different lighting setups in my room for getting ready for bed. Like the lights are low, things like that, and it helps your circadian rhythm kind of reset. But what happens if you don't get enough sleep?
I feel crazy. There's things that happen in our bodies, and we've talked about that in depth we like did a whole Nidra episode back in the day about
why is rest so important,
the way that our body kind of defrags every night. So if we don't actually defrag and the dis-ease in our body stays and doesn't work its way out, then it just stays there.
Right. And dis-ease causes disease. Right. That's where the word comes from. So what changes do you need to make in your life right now to create more ease where there is currently dis-ease? Because you don't want to hold on to that, because it does affect your body. It affects your brain.
Hard work because we're so domesticated to be in that high stress, reactive state of mind. So it takes time, and sometimes like Charlie has been like, dude, are you okay? Because you just like bit their head off, and I'd be like, I did. Like, what's that about? Because that's something, like I'm like, I did. Oops. It's so grateful that I have someone that I can trust that's not being like catty, right? Like there's like, hey, I know you're curious about this right now, so let's point this out that this happened because I don't think you meant for it to happen, right?
Right. And then there's been days that we've taken turns processing stuff where we're just complete, like we can work, we can do our thing, but it's like, I'm not taking any calls today because I'm a mess.
I have no grace for anyone else today. I will not be taking a call, right? Like knowing that like you're dealing with something here that has nothing to do with anyone else. Why would I want to put that on them?
Right. And it's interesting coming from a different spot where you see like you can feel your body in the chaos reacting to whatever trigger was, but then you see it from that place of curiosity of, oh wow, this is really interesting what's coming up for me right now. let me process this. Let me heal this,
Yeah.
and spend all day crying if you need to. That's how you let it go.
Or moving through it.
Or moving through it, right?
Because I had a thing where it was like, I was almost like fearful to just leave my home. And because of the anxiety I was feeling that had nothing to do with the situation. And I can recognize that. And then that's the opportunity, right?
Right.
I'm like, okay, I need to move through this so I can show myself it's okay.
Yeah.
And so that was my action in that time. Sometimes it's crying, sometimes it's taking that action, but you have to know what's going on for you. And that's awareness.
Yep. And we've been working on that a lot. Another thing that'll happen with when you get enough rest is you will actually be better at your job. If you are not working 97 hours a week and you're not exhausted at your job, guess what? You'll actually do a better job and probably be more productive.
What happens when your brain can actually put two thoughts together?
Yeah.
Right.
Or, we talk about having the best ideas in the shower. It's because we are focusing on that one thing, right? The shower, right? And it's
your brain's relaxing.
People, it's like relaxing and things like that. And once you relax, the ideas come, the connections happen, things like that. We were just talking about this over coffee this morning. Was what we do when we have great ideas in the middle of the night, or when we'll leave our phones and we'll go outside and we'll just chat and get some fresh air. And
because we're not chatting, talking, the conversation we have is so much deeper, and
the ideas that come. We started the conversation with how
did you meet so and so?
How did you meet so and so and ended planning a conference?
I was like, how did we get here? I was like, oh yeah, you asked me a question. That was a journey. Okay.
And just talking. And we've often talked about needing somebody to like take notes and stuff while we're talking, because we have great ideas and then we go inside and we forget what they are. But you will be better at your job if you get enough rest.
You'll be more creative.
Yes. And I know Heather is our creative brain, right? But sometimes in order to finish a project, she literally has to take a nap.
Yeah, literally.
Literally has to take a nap to reset, defrag
it. Right.
Let things download off of her hard drive so she has space for more.
For that creative energy.
Right. And that's what you're doing, is you're creating space for that. And when you're being creative, guess what? The connections happen again, right? It's the whole thing. You'll have better relationships at work and at home if you don't work so much.
If you get the rest, if you get the sleep, right? Because things are connecting.
Yeah. She talks about, especially for those of us who work at home, are solopreneurs and entrepreneurs and things like that, of having a dedicated stop work time. Which for me is usually about 4. Sometimes we have things that happen later in the afternoon and things, but 4 o'clock is about the time my husband gets home. It's about the time the kids get home from school during the school year and have had time to decompress themselves, and then I'm ready to decompress and spend time with my family for the evening, right? And it's a whole different shift.
Right. And usually I have the shift of going home, spending time with my family and loved one. And then I have a period of time where, because it's that creative energy, it starts to come out. And so I just take care of it. And then I put it away.
And you've been doing much better about putting it away.
Yeah.
Why am I getting Trello notifications at 10 p.m.? Go to bed. Because she finished the thing, because she was being creative. Work matters less than you think it does. Okay, so this is like the work-life balance. Work is always going to be there. And if something happens, you get fired, or you have to take another job because it's less stressful or whatever, guess what? That other job that you had they'll hire somebody to replace you there. Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
focus on yourself and your family, because if you work yourself to death, they're just going to hire somebody else who will do the same.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So
It's
self-care
super
first.
crazy to me. Self-care and family first. So the exercise was to like think about that firm end time of the day.
Yeah. Set a firm quitting time.
Because if you had a job,
Mhm.
just a regular job, where you basically, clock in, clock out, punch the card or whatever it is, you would leave and your work would stay at work. It's a little different as entrepreneurs and business owners because, we are the business.
We are the business.
But even creating a spot where we can put those notes instead of working on them right now. So, because when we start to relax, then it kind of like kicks those ideas free from the things that we've been doing. And so sometimes you need to have an outlet to put those that's safe. So sometimes, that used to be a journal, and I always get so frustrated because I lose the stupid journals. I love now that we use Trello, and I can use it on anything I'm on. So if it's on my phone, I can open a Trello card and just like
reminder to do whatever.
Yeah.
Just notes.
Just put notes in there, the things, right? Because my brain figured something out. It worked it out, right? I just need to put it somewhere so I remember that we did the thing. And then my future self always thanks my past self. Thank you for this. This note is awesome. Thank you.
Which is part of kind of almost like what she talked about next, which is have a conversation to your older self, right? We talked about past self, right? Thank your past self for where you are now, and then doing things for yourself that you'll appreciate later. This is kind of the same thing, like looking at your older self and then being grateful for what brought you that far, but also to push you forward to the next level.
What do you want your
older self to be?
Look like and be? Do you want your older self to continue in this situation? Is this going to be detrimental? Can I see this as going to create a health downfall? Or is this going to make me more healthy? Like, wow, that's a good conversation to have.
There was one more thing that she talked about this week that I wanted to touch on. Because I feel like it was really, really important. And my train derailed.
Don't you hate that when you're trained, like the
thought derailed completely,
goes off the tracks, and then you're like, you can see the whole movie of it going down the gully and like catching fire, and none of this is helping you remember. No, I hate that. Well, you can go back and listen to Charlie read the entire chapter, and maybe you will pick it up and drop us a note of what you think. Maybe.
What do you think that train was? It was
It
was really good. It was a really good train, but off it went. Oh God, yeah, like Heather said, go back, listen to the chapters, let us know what you think of them, and keep tuning in for some more personal growth. And
I hope you have a great week. Thanks for choosing and deciding to start your week with us.
Namaste.
Namaste. As entrepreneurs, we have a unique opportunity to make a positive impact in the world around us. In a time when the world is shifting towards supporting local businesses and embracing community-driven initiatives, it becomes even more important for us to give where our heart leads us. At the table, we believe in the power of giving back, and that's why we have our cause of the quarter. This quarter, we are proud to support Perfect Pals, a local organization dedicated to rescuing and providing care for stray cats in our community. By supporting local causes like Perfect Pals, we not only make a difference in the lives of those in need, but we also contribute to the growth and well-being of our local community. We believe in small acts of kindness, and they can create a ripple effect of positivity, inspiring others to do the same. As we shift our focus solely from supporting large corporations to championing local businesses and giving back, We not only strengthen our community, but we also foster a sense of connection and unity. Together, we can create a thriving ecosystem where everyone can flourish. So let's follow our hearts and give where it truly matters. Join in supporting Perfect Pals and making a difference in the lives of these furry companions. Together we can make our community a better place, one act of kindness at a time. Thank you for being part of our journey and for embracing the spirit of giving. Together, let's create a brighter future for all. Are you tired of juggling endless tasks, struggling to find time for what truly matters? We have the solution for you. Introducing Free Time Solutions, your ultimate partner in reclaiming your time and maximizing your potential. At Free Time Solutions, we specialize in helping businesses like yours thrive in a digital world. From social media management to website optimization and branding, we have the expertise to elevate your online presence and streamline your operations. Imagine having time to focus on what you love to do while we take care of your business. With our dedicated team of experts and innovative solutions, we leave you free to pursue your passions and achieve your goals. Whether you are a small business owner, entrepreneur, freelancer, we offer comprehensive services tailored to your needs. Our goal is simple: to give you back time, freedom to do what you do best while we handle the rest. So join us at the table and let Free Time Solution empower you to take control of your time and unlock your full potential. Visit our website at www.yourfreetimeback.com. That's www.yourfreetimeback.com to learn more and schedule your consultation today. Free Time Solutions, your partner in success. Let's make the most of your free time together. Thank you for joining us at the table. Stay tuned for weekly readings on Sunday, Mindset Monday, discussing our weekly readings on Monday, and on Friday, our interview and potentially guest hosts. Stay tuned.
Thank you for joining in on the fun. Be sure to like and subscribe for more.